Hi everyone, Courtney once again with Transnation. I know we've been talking about this class for quite a few weeks now, and it's finally here. So we got Bree, who I mentioned earlier is our division manager, and Annie, who is our trained direct manager. They're going to teach the class, and I will let them do it.
Thanks, Courtney. So we're just going to kind of start with an overview of what we do, and then we'll open it up for any questions you all might have afterwards.
Yep.
So we created a checklist similar to the TransDirect checklist we have for just normal real estate transactions, but this one is specifically for mobile homes in a park. It'll look pretty much the same, but there's a few different bits of information included on here, including just a disclaimer, there can't be a split closing for these mobile homes in a park. We have to close both sides, so keep that in mind if you have a transaction like this. There's information specifically regarding the mobile home, the year built, year in the property section. We ask questions too regarding property tax information. So some mobile homes, we have recently learned, have portions that are taxed as real property. So this can be like sometimes a garage or a deck. We ask if there is anything like that with the specific property that you're dealing with, because there's a property transfer affidavit that gets done. We just had a mobile home that had the garage. The owner of the mobile home actually paid property taxes to the municipality on just the garage. And so
yeah, that was my property.
that was yours. That was a learning experience.
Yeah.
That one, but so we had to file a property transfer affidavit for those kind of situations. So we'll ask that question. Then the rest of it is most like just what you're used to, the both agents' names, seller and buyer contact information, the lender's contact information, and then the mobile home park contact information. We get a disclosure from the mobile home park just like we do for any normal transaction if there's a homeowners or condo association. So we ask for the email address for the mobile home park. And then the rest is just the normal questions that are on our regular checklist.
Yeah. So,
with these, we just have to have a little bit more communication. I think this booklet that Kendall passed out will be helpful. The only thing that I wanted to say, and we can say this at the end too, is we're running into some lenders that have had issues closing them with us. I'll show you our mobile home transaction agreement next. Basically, we're pretty restricted, so it's totally opposite of what you're used to. There's no policy. It throws us off even still. I'm like, we're just missing something here. Like, it's almost too easy. We collect for a $350 closing fee from each party, so buyer and seller. There's no transfer taxes because there's no transfer happening of the deed. And then we would collect for your broker fee and broker commission. We do ask for a copy of the mobile home title just to make sure that there's no outstanding liens on it. However, we don't help with the transfer of the actual title. So that's done between the buyer and the seller at the time of closing. Some lenders, we've been learning, will help that with that as well.
Like they want to be actively involved in the process. So
Yeah.
we're like, we are gonna handle the mobile home title transfer. So it really just depends on the lender. Not every lender wants
Yep.
to do that. It just depends on what their lender preference is.
Also, I know everyone probably uses an array of lenders, but the ones that we've been dealing with are a lot of out of state or not local lenders. So that's really tricky. The one that we had to turn away because they wanted us to collect for the 6% sales tax. We cannot hold that. We can't collect for it. If the buyer needed to bring a check separate to the Secretary of State, that's fine. We just cannot handle the collection of those funds and dispersing those funds. That's our only rule on that end. Go ahead.
Are there local lenders in the area that deal with mobile homes that you would recommend?
So they'll probably hate me for this, but I just found out that Guild Mortgage is really great at doing these too, and they kind of set it up just the way that we expect a lender to set it up. We'll facilitate the closing, the notary, we'll collect your commission, your broker fees, and then they kind of take everything else and disperse it from there. If you run into an issue, which we have with this out-of-state lender, where we just couldn't facilitate the closing, we also offered to have a notary service, so we can always help out that way and have them meet still in like the neutral location, so they're not coming here, they're not going to a coffee shop where there might be some confusion. So by all means, if it's something that we're running into an issue, just call one of us and I'm happy to do a notary for you. We wouldn't collect a fee, obviously, if we weren't helping out on the transaction. So most of them that we've been seeing have been cash transactions, and those move extremely fast. It's super easy. Once we get the approval from the park is when we're able to go ahead and close. So Annie was also stating about the dues or the disclosure, basically. So we've had a couple before where we're closing towards the end of the month and we can't get in touch with the park, or they've paid $650 worth of rent. How do we handle this? We can always do a waiver as well, just because our liability is already taken out of these transactions as Transnation title. So if you run into a pinch where we can't get in touch with the park for like prorating the dues, we can always work with you too. These transactions, I've been realizing that they just require a little bit more communication and a lot more of just confirmation from our end. So I apologize if that, in my mind, I always think more communication is better, but that's how I think. So, yeah, so I can show you, sorry, did you have a question?
I did have a question. On the mobile home, so when this happens, do you have to have the park like screen the person who's applying to buy before you even do the transaction?
Yep. So we've had one, it actually was an agent that typically doesn't use us, which it was kind of nice because they found out that we could facilitate these. Cash transaction, we got everything done. However, we were still waiting for that approval, so that had to postpone until we received their approval, because we don't want that to happen where the park has to have that before we can move forward. So
I'm not sure that it's every mobile home park that has to run a screening on the buyers, but because we haven't, not all of our mobile home in a park transactions have on the disclosure that we send the association, it asks, do you need to approve of the buyer? And some of them don't, but some of them do. They'll run a background check or certain screenings.
Yeah.
And those have to be back in before on our end, before the transaction can close. Like the buyer has to be approved.
also it could be like income with the other ones that we've done, the Oaks in Rockford. We've done a few in there. Those are a little bit particular. That's a huge park, and that I believe is 55 and up. So they might have certain rules that we might not know about until we get all of the paperwork from everybody.
So the title company is doing that communication, not the admin or the realtor?
So we will reach, if you want us to, we can reach out and get the dues disclosure, but we wouldn't like set up your buyer to get the approval, if that is what you're asking.
So you're not communicating with the office at all?
With the mobile home park
Yeah,
office,
right.
we are in communication with the mobile home park office. The only question pertaining to like, has the buyer been approved on your end, is on the disclosure that we send over to them. So if there's paperwork to fill out, we haven't had any transactions yet where they've come back and said, oh, the buyer needs to fill out all these documents and turn them into us before we can, start the approval process. We haven't had any that were
Just similar to, hey, here's the association, it's $200 annually, there's a $50 buy-in. Some purchase agreements that we've been seeing where they want the prorated lot rent on there, so we would need to get the disclosure from that office to show what the actual rent is, have they paid it. These are a little bit looser. I feel like we don't typically do waivers on associations, but with the ones that we've had previously, hey, this is a pinch, my buyer, my seller are okay working out, $100 of lot rent outside of closing, we would just have a waiver signed. So.
Can I jump in there for you
Yeah,
too, Josh? So
yeah.
if you're going to list one, the first thing that you need to do is speak with the park.
Yeah,
Okay, it doesn't look title. You need to find out whether or not the park requires approval for the buyer to list it. If they do, what I put on the board right there has to be in the public remarks on the MLS. So it does have to say in a park and subject to park approval. So the same thing, like if you were going to pin, because the title work goes very quickly for these.
well, there is no title work,
Right,
so.
sorry.
No, yeah, it's
What-
very opposite.
What Transnation does goes very quickly for
Uh-huh.
these, because
Yeah.
it's almost considered like an RV title.
It is.
Right.
So you may inform them, this is what's going to happen.
Yep.
But really what you're waiting on, if it has to have park approval, is for that park approval to come back before anything can be processed for it.
The last
Yeah.
one I had, there was a hack, the property manager, they get inquiries on their,
Mm-hmm.
so if you get in good with that person, they'll just broadcast your property out to all the minion potential work both sides too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I got burned on, so everyone should know this, happened to me last week, Dad, don't get mad at me. Sometimes the offices don't communicate properly, like with the inquiries. So someone called on my sign and wanted to park and then wanted to go to another park.
Mhm.
Well, I had 2 or 4 places, and then they just went back to the park, wrote everything up, and I got whittled out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, be careful.
And just because you can sell in a park, doesn't mean you can sell in that park.
Mhm.
Some parks have a first right of refusal,
Yeah,
and you have to go through that process with them first. So, you have to know who you're dealing with on that end.
I've learned that some will communicate really well and some will not communicate very well, so,
I've
it is,
learned too that verbal communication is not communication.
no, yeah,
So I had the park manager tell me,
Yep.
myself, that yep, they're approved, and
yeah,
they ended up not being approved, and then told my client, the seller, that they were approved, but this was all verbal, so.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, great, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So verbal communication is something that you don't wanna stand 10 toes down on.
okay.
Get something
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that there's more flexibility with these transactions, it's just, there's more things that we could help out with because of the fact that we're not issuing a policy. There's no transfer, so,
There's no title insurance
Yeah.
on these because the park owns all the land. So the title insurance would be on land in a house or, land in a
yeah.
mobile home, like not in a park.
Not in a park, yeah.
But since the park owns all the land, there's no title policy.
Yeah, so it definitely moves pretty fast. The thing that we're always waiting for, the last minute, is either that dues disclosure or the approval, so. Okay, I just pulled this from my file, so don't mind me. So, this is pulling for the mobile home transaction agreement. So we can email you Kindle too if you wanna get a copy to everybody. This is set in stone through our attorneys at our company. Basically, it's just to hold harmless, it's covering our butts, basically, so. So this is just stating that our responsibility, we're just facilitating accepting your client's money and dispersing it to you both, or both of you guys, and then also the seller. Now, like we said, going back, some of the lenders require, let me back up. So, what we've been learning along this new process with the parks is that all of these lenders have been doing this for years. They already know the plan in place. They ask for your client, the buyer, to bring in 18 different checks, one for this, one for that, one for this, one for that. So now it's become more popular, obviously us, there's still a few other competitors out there that are also adding this into what they can close besides Transnation. So it's hard for us to communicate, hey, stop right there, we can't hold these, we can't hold an escrow if there was a repair, we can't collect for the 6% sales tax. If your client is, obviously they wanna add that to the lender side. And so that's where we're coming into some issues where now they're saying, wait, we've never had this issue, let's close it with our people, or we'll close it on our own. So just be cautious where there's a lender involved is all I would probably say. But this agreement is basically just stating we cannot give any legal advice, we cannot help for the transfer of the green title from the seller to the buyer. A lot of times if there is a lender, they don't want them to sign it, so don't have your clients like pre-sign it and fill it out, and that would create even more of an issue. Yeah, so it just says like Transnation will not assist with the transfer of the property at Secretary of State. If they have questions, I mean, we're not gonna be rude and like throw them out of the office or anything, but we just can't help them if they have questions on how much to put on there. So that should be all covered after closing, once they are, everything has been sold and closed. This says about the taxes. So the only thing that we would pay if there was an outstanding balance is if there was a garage or a deck, like Annie had said earlier. So there's 3 pages, your responsibilities, acknowledgements, miscellaneous terms, and then it's just stating that they certified they're 18 or older, citizen of the United States. Closing statement is the only thing that is signed if it's a cash. So they sign their Alta statement at closing, which would show just our closing fee for $350, your broker fee, and your commissions. And then this agreement, and this agreement does need to be notarized. So we're running into issues where if it's a cash transaction, can they e-sign? Can they sign out of the state? It's just very much simpler if they can come in office same day with the sellers. And then with certain lenders, we've been running into, they have quite a bit of documents that your seller will also sign too. So it's just easier to have everyone come at the same time, same place, like we stated. So, any questions on this? It's pretty much just a bullet point of what we would cover, and basically you're signing a hold harmless for our company. We'll facilitate this closing, take in the funds, and push out the funds. So, yeah. I can send this over too, I just pulled it, here's my address.
You said not to sign that in advance, that would be signed at the closing?
This would be signed at the closing. So if I was buying Annie's and I was buying in cash, just the same thing, you would email, set up the appointment, it's tomorrow at 9 a.m. Here is your closing statement. Your borrower would bring in X amount of dollars to Transnation Title as a cashier's check. If they want to wire, they can certainly do that. We can still hold the EMDs. I mean, you guys are really good at holding your own, but we could do that as well. And then we would pay out for commissions and then pay out to the seller. All you would physically sign is 2 documents. So your closing statement, Annie's closing statement, and then we would both sign this transaction agreement. Nothing else is needed. So I guess just moving forward, if you have lenders, to see where they're located, a lot of local lenders will then have a broker, like a broker would be local, but then they have the funder that's out in California and they're used to, it's just hard for us because we're new at this and we just don't want to have any hiccups, but what we've been experiencing is that the lenders are already used to doing all of these. So if that's simpler to just say, hey, the lender's gonna handle all these, Bree, do you care if they stop by and do a signing with you? I'm happy to do so. So, we don't wanna like turn anyone away, it's just, sometimes,
Some lenders are insistent on like being extremely
Yeah.
involved in the transaction, like handling a lot of
All
it.
of the documents,
and so
yeah.
it's like, all right, we don't really have a place here to, you know, facilitate the closing because the lender really wants to basically do all of it. So
Yeah.
that's just what we found with
and
certain.
the lender that we just, I've had one a couple weeks ago that we ended up not being able to close because they wanted us to collect for the 6% sales tax, which we could not do. And then they also informed us, and I had actually talked to the gal, she was in Muskegon, super nice girl, but she's like, we hate these because these lenders are outsourced. And then Michigan is a wet state, which means that once everyone signs, we can disperse. So some of these lenders, they take anywhere from 4 to 12 days to disperse. So when we were approached, obviously, to start these transactions, it's so much nicer. You can come to where you're normally going to for your closings. You're familiar with your closers. It's something that moves fast, and that way you can get your commissions and your seller's proceeds done immediately, typically. Whereas now these lenders are coming into play. Hey, this seller is gonna sign everything. They're not gonna get their check for 2 weeks. And hey, you're also not gonna get your check for 2 weeks. So just over communication, I think, is key. And if you need us to do that too, we can certainly do that as well. But we've just been running into certain lenders that have had issues, but yeah. Any questions? Sorry, I don't wanna deter you, but.
Do you have, some kind of
Yeah.
checklist that you use for mobile home transactions?
This was the, first one that.
Sorry.
No, you're
I'm
good.
helping somebody with something.
Yeah, no
You're
worries.
good. And if you want, I forgot to mention this, but all of the TransDirect teams have this checklist. So if you want to ask your TransDirect, whatever team you work with for this, it's just the mobile home in a park checklist. You can ask them, or we can email it out
Yeah.
here to court. We can take your name
Who's
in.
the lender contact that everyone's used to working with the guild?
So I was told that Chris does it. Chris Hendricks, I think is his name. So I can also even reach out to Katrina. I wasn't aware that they did that. I don't think they advertise it very heavily because it's also outsourced somewhere else in theirs, but I heard nothing but good things from the closer that ended up closing one for them, so.
So Guild does them, but they broker them out.
Yes.
And then Riverbank Financial is their local
River-
one.
yes,
So those
yep.
are the two only in the area
Yep.
that do.
Just-
Is it still like the high interest rate, like 9%?
9%. It's a chattel loan is what they're doing, so it's not an actual.
Yep,
mortgage.
you're right, yeah, Riverbank Finance. I think we have one going on right now that has that, where, like I said, they already have this in place, so I just don't wanna come in and say like, oh, we can't do this, we can't help you, so it's kind of just
Yeah.
being a little bit fluid and more upfront, saying this is what we can do, as long as you're good with that, we can close it, so. Cash transactions obviously are easy peasy, but, yeah.
So Jason Independent doesn't do them anymore, cause they used to as well. Okay.
So they have to do a chattel loan, so the only two that I found in the area, I called everyone, it was Guild and Riverbank.
Yep.
And then Guild, I got through the process, got a pre-approval for it, but then they broker those out, so they don't
Yeah.
house or service them.
Yeah, but you're still in contact, which is nice, in my opinion, with the local,
Correct.
your contacts that you know that you can call if there's something going on. It's just harder even for us, so I can't imagine how hard it is for you guys with your clients, like, if it's somebody out of the state, we don't know who they are, we've never communicated with them. The one that we've been coming across is Triad. That was the only one that we had to say we weren't able to close it because of the 6% sales tax. So, yeah. Any questions?
I have a goofy question.
Yeah.
I already probably know the answer, but I'm just asking.
Yes.
If I'm thinking this, I'm just thinking it. So if we have a cash buyer
Mhm.
and we have a written approval from the park, if that's required.
Yeah.
Is it our fiduciary part to save our client $350 and close it simply with the notary somewhere present, or should we always do this route?
So I think I would say always do this route. I will be honest, I had one actually with Mike's team here maybe a couple months ago, and we ended up not being able to help, and another person locally had ran those through their brokerage, and I just said, hey, if you want to stop by, I'm happy to facilitate some things. It's just hard if we're not involved and then we're collecting $350 each, but I think just showing up to a neutral place, knowing that we know the lingo, we know how it works a little bit easier, is it easier in my opinion, but I see what you mean. So, I mean, I just think none of this is obviously black and white, and then on top of this is so new for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's just more like run it by us. Hey, this is what we have going on. What do you think?
Okay.
I mean, I know banks help out, but it might just be easier just to send them our way and pay that too. So I don't know, I can't say off the top of my head what the parks charge to facilitate those closings. All I know is the ones that we have been in communication with, they have to bring all of these different checks, and then we got one for KW, we got one for this person, we got one for this person. It just seems very like overwhelming in my opinion, but
It makes sense to me to have them pay to save our money.
yeah.
And it's really nice, and I think as, you know, we're talking about these a little bit more, and looking at them for compliance purposes. It's kind of like, you need some type of a settlement statement.
Yeah.
Disbursement, you know,
Yep.
where did all the funds go?
Yeah. This is showing like I'm paying Transnation $350 on this date. I'm paying Jason $295, and I'm paying that,
Yeah.
and then they would sign this settlement statement and then also sign the transaction agreement too. I know that I'm responsible for X, Y, and Z, and I'm taking you off of that. So,
Got it.
in my opinion, I think it's safer, but there has been a few things in the past where we've
Yeah, I mean,
said,
it's easy, like, so if it's a cash transaction, I mean, you just experienced that, right? And
I tried to do long title work brief.
and then there's,
It got done.
but things come up, and then, you know, and then Ed's looking for paper trails, you know.
Yeah.
And there's not really anything.
yeah,
Right.
it's very uncomfortable, I would say, for us too. Like we had one where the actual mobile home was owned by an estate, and so then I'm like, okay, I need your and then I'm like, whoa, back off, like I don't need this. So it's definitely harder for us to kind of release that control as well, because our brains are like title work. These are the requirements. So I mean, I think it's nice. I think obviously it's become very popular. This is our second class or discussion, I should say, that we've taught with a different broker as well. So I think it's good, and I'm glad that we could do them. It's just maybe a little bit more communication up front too, because I don't want to hate on any of the lenders. It's just hard if you're saying, hey, I can close this with Transnation. These are their rules. We can just not hold anything with the 6% sales tax. No problem. And then you get to the end and they're like, you got to add this. And it just creates issues for you guys and us. So
Is there anything weird or extra on mobile homes like before a certain year? I know out in California.
78.
yeah,
There are.
74. I just learned this yesterday. It was not in a park, but I'm assuming, I think 78 or 74.
Have a different
It's
emblem.
really hard, yeah. And then like financing, it's especially hard because that ends the cap, which you think like, you know,
There's
car.
a separate sticker on the
Yeah.
on the chassis.
The HUD, yep,
Yeah.
the HUD plate, yep,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So,
But
I know some stuff.
that's talking about a different animal though, right? Because we're talking about something completely different if it's on land.
on land, oh yeah, that's a whole different ballgame.
So
Yeah.
there really isn't like a year-built date when they're in a park.
No,
There
there
still
is.
is. There's still a
yep,
title in
the
your bill.
manufacturer, the
Yeah.
serial
Yep.
number, the year it's built.
There is a year-
Yep,
there is a year
yep,
date
there's a
on
year
Yeah.
date. I think that only comes into play if they're getting it financed, but
Alone.
I'm not 100% sure on that. Just like if I was saying, hey, I wanna buy this 1998 car, they're gonna be like, well, Bree, your interest rate's gonna be huge because it's not in that cap, you know,
Yeah.
so.
So that's a lender, that's related to the lender.
To the lender,
So they-
yeah.
So they have like a strict cutoff date of what they will lend
78.
and not lend?
78,
Even in a park?
1978.
Okay.
Yep.
They're not lending.
So same
Yeah.
as lead-based paint.
Yeah, I have one right now that's 1974. It's not looking too good. I'm like, oh man. What,
But if it's a
51 years?
Cash buyer, would the park still approve something like that, or is that just an obsolete unit that then has to go
I'm
away?
assuming they would if it's a cash. Yeah, it would just be
Yeah.
transferred because they're purchasing it, liquid cash. Yeah, yeah.
The Secretary of State and the state of Michigan too, state of Michigan doesn't get involved with
No.
mobile homes in a park, but they don't care what year the title was issued. We've seen titles, like
Yeah.
little tiny
Old.
titles, really
Yeah.
old ones, like what is that?
Yeah.
A really
Yeah.
old title. Yeah, they're fine, there's no issue with the Secretary of State.
Yeah. Did you have a question, Ed?
On the lenders
Yes.
that do this, who like to close them because they track down the payoff of an underlying,
Correct.
do they collect the 6% tax and do that?
Yes.
And then for you, is it that when you say you can't, you mean you won't, right?
We cannot and we won't. So the one in particular with Triad, so they sent over their statement, here's, we just add your broker fee and our $350 and we're done. Here's their loan, and they wanted us to collect for that 6%, even though they were sending it in, we can't even have it on as a paper trail and cutting a check out of our system for that sales tax. So we offered, hey, they can bring this up front, they can bring an extra check to whomever, if that works, but that was not it. So, especially if the higher the price, the more it will be. So, in their circumstances, they wanted it financed, like rolled into their loan, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, then they were like, we'll run it however we run it. Do you mind if we stop in for a notary? Sure, that works perfectly. But this was also the same lender that was saying this is a dry state. Once we get all the documents back, they get sent to the lender, then to the broker, then they look at everything, and anywhere from 4 to 12 days is when it disperses. So then you have a seller, hey, where's my money? And then you guys too. So now bringing up Guild again, Guild was really nice. They kept that all separate. Bree, all you need to collect for is our fees, your fee, and your commission, and your golden. They collected a separate check, just like we need to have happened, and they processed it that way. So, I mean, obviously cash ones are good, but it's just depending on the lender, what they require, so. But yeah, we're not able to. I also had somebody once call, maybe a month ago, and she had said that they were waiting on the approval. Can we close and hold everything? No. Because what if they don't? Then we just are opening up so much more liability for us too. Or if there was a repair, we wouldn't hold an escrow. There's nothing, the only thing we would disperse is proceeds, your check and our check. So, yeah.
How often do you see cash?
Every time. The only ones that I've closed is cash.
I'd say the majority, yeah.
Majority are cash. The only one that I've ever
It doesn't even seem to make
closed
sense.
with a lender, we ended up not doing it because of this, but, yeah.
I was gonna say, the only ones we've done have all been cash.
Cash,
I've
yeah.
done this cash.
I
Yeah.
would say probably 90% of ours have been cash. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's doable, and maybe the lender has their own separate closing and they need to process however, and if you guys still wanna have them come in, but then it's like, we're just having them show up for $350, so it's just more of trying to figure out what suits best. But I definitely think it's
It's best that they don't come here to close.
Yeah,
That's what's best.
yeah. Yeah, and if you run into one where the lender needs to have that collected or is requiring it, then we can see if it's easier for them to just come, hey, you're more than welcome to do this. If you want somebody to see that you're transferring this check to them, sure, I'm happy to do that. We just wouldn't, it would just be just a notary service. Essentially, this whole thing is kind of a notary service and just paying out the parties.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't pay the Secretary of State, but, yeah.
So I'm a new agent, and this is a bit confusing, because if you're not handling the title, and you're not handling the closing, what are we doing here? We're just facilitating just disbursement?
Notarizing and
Just like
facilitate,
just
yep,
escrow.
just escrow services. So we would be bringing in their funds, so you're bringing me your cash to close funds, and we would be dispersing it to the seller and dispersing it to the agents.
Where normally would somebody go if we didn't provide this service? Where do they do those things? Just at a bank with the notary service, or?
I know
Typically, they're
some-
facilitated with the park. The
Yeah,
park
the
takes
park.
care of
I
those.
got you.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Now, I don't know what the fees compared to those are, and I've had it where people have sold, and we've had to facilitate getting funds to said park, and I know that they're very, they can only take certain checks, they can only take a certain amount. Just from my experience from closing, where, hey, I sold my house, I have 200,000, I'm gonna just go right down the road and buy it in the mobile home park. So just that experience, they're a little bit different, so, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen transactions too. I think my impression of the mobile home parks, I'm not sure if it's accurate for all of them, but I think they take a while to get the
Yes.
funds out.
Yeah.
We've had transactions where, someone sold their mobile home and then they're buying a house,
Yeah.
and they're like,
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my proceeds. I closed last week and I don't have my
Yeah.
money yet. We've run into situations like that too. So
Yeah.
I think they might take a little while to
Yeah.
get all the money out.
Yeah, so this is a easier, I would say, easier and or faster way to get the transaction closed. Yeah.
Some of the mobile home parks disclosures will tell you they have up to 21 days to disperse funds.
Yes. Yeah, so when they started listing them on the MLS and they came forward and said, we're going to start closing these transactions, we were under the impression it's nicer because the seller can walk away with funds a little faster and you guys can walk away with your funds faster, which makes total sense.
Great,
Yeah,
thank you.
so, yeah, there's only 2 documents that we would sign and then whatever the lender would require, so, yeah. Any other questions? Who's your contact at Riverbank?
Melissa,
Okay, I was just curious.
yeah, Melissa Cohen.
Okay.
Jason, I will get the info for you too, though, because there is also they're up in Nuevo area. There's a Farm Bureau one up there too, credit union that does them. They do a lot of those up in
Yeah.
White Cloud and Nuevo.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anything else? Thank you. Yeah, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us too.
Thank you, and
Yeah.
Bree or Courtney, if you'll make sure that maybe Carla and I get that checklist.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll send
We'll get
it
it
to you both,
dispersed.
so then you can put it wherever it needs to go.
Thank you.
Is that checklist something that you want us to fill out, or is
Yes.
that for your purposes?
It is for our purposes, but we would ask if you could to fill it out, just so we have all the information from the get-go, because there's no title work done. It can go pretty fast as long as we have contact information for the park. Honestly, that's generally what takes the longest, is getting a response from them. So if we have the information from the get-go, we can reach out to them right away for, yeah. Mhm.
Where do we find this?
The checklist? Whoops.
We will send it to Kendall, yep, and she'll get it to everybody.
Yeah.
So.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Yeah.
We can email it right to you right now if you want. Do you have, are you,
I'm just wondering, because sometimes forms are just floating out there in the.
Yeah.
In another world.
yeah.
They're there somewhere, but I don't know where. But-
Mario, what's up, man?
Hey.
Yes.
Yes, coming in late with questions, Mario.
Sunglasses on.
You sense this guy's tan, you gotta put some.
Yeah.
And then over here, and there was a,
mean, it's just kind of more like-
development coming in, you can order your units. It's right off of,
Open
because I just copied up to corporate transportation.
Okay, cool.
They're coming, Tanya has like 12 manufactured homes
Oh my gosh.
that are gonna be.
Wow. Yeah.
Like,
It's just the lenders that we've been running into issues with. But I feel like that hopefully made sense. Like, it's hard for us to say, here, you've been doing this process for 10 years, and oh wait, we can't. Like, so, it's like, I just want everyone to be aware of that.
I don't see here anymore.
The manufactured are different than mobile.
Room, I can just put in this little hole, turn it.
Manufactured, we just have class, I should say, it's compared to modular.
Oh.
Manufactured are separate, and then they come
Trucks, if
together
I
into
need any help back
pieces and
there.
they're.
Anyway, cool.
And the modular is the house going down.